The escape pod was dying. Its lights flickered like a weak heartbeat, and the small vessel drifted through the cold darkness of space. Inside, a young man named pressed his hand against a wound on his side. Blood seeped through his fingers. He was alone, far from home, and he knew that no one was coming to save him. Was a pilot from Earth. He had been part of a small exploration team sent to study a distant star system, but something had gone wrong. Their ship had been attacked by raiders, pirates who hunted in the outer rim of the galaxy, had managed to escape in a pod, but the rest of his crew was not so lucky. He had watched their ship explode from his tiny window. Now he floated in the endless void, waiting to die. His oxygen was running out. The pod system showed he had maybe 2 hours left. Closed his eyes and thought about his home. He thought about the mountains of Korea, the smell of his mother's cooking, the sound of rain on the roof of his childhood home. He wished he could see those things one more time. Then something appeared on his scanner, a ship. It was large, much larger than his pod, and it was coming toward him. For a moment felt hope, but then he saw the design of the vessel. It was not human. The ship belonged to the... Had heard stories about the... They were one of the oldest species in the galaxy. Some said they were wise and peaceful. Others said they looked down on younger races like humans. Earth had never made official contact with them. Humans were still new to space travel, still learning, still small in the eyes of the galaxy. The ship came closer. Its hull was smooth and silver, shaped like a great fish swimming through the stars. Watched it approach with tired eyes. He did not know if they would help him or ignore him. Many alien species did not care about humans. To them, Earth was just a small blue dot on the edge of nowhere. On the ship, Commander stood on the bridge and looked at the scanner. He was tall, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. His people lived for hundreds of years and had seen many things in his long life. He had seen wars and peace, birth and death, the rise and fall of empires. But today something made him pause. "Commander," said his second officer, a female named, "the pod contains a life form, one being. It appears to be human." Studied the data on his screen. The human's life signs were weak. The pod was damaged. If they did nothing, the human would die within hours. "Should we continue on our course?" asked. Her voice was calm, professional. To her, this was a simple question. Humans were not their concern. They had their own problems, their own missions, their own lives. But did not answer right away. He looked at the small pod floating in the darkness. Inside that tiny vessel was a creature who had traveled far from home, who had survived an attack, who was fighting to stay alive. Had seen humans before from a distance. They were strange beings, soft, short-lived, emotional. But there was something about them that had always interested him. They were so fragile, yet they kept reaching for the stars. "Bring the pod aboard," said. Looked surprised. "Commander, the Council has ordered us not to interfere with human affairs. We are not supposed to make contact." "I am not making contact," replied. "I am saving a life. There is a difference." The crew followed his orders. They used a beam to pull the escape pod into the ship's cargo bay. When the doors closed and the air filled the room, a medical team rushed forward. They opened the pod and found inside, barely conscious, covered in blood. The doctors had never treated a human before. Their medicine was designed for their own kind, beings with different blood, different organs, different needs. But they tried anyway. They scanned his body and learned how he worked. They closed his wound, gave him clean air, and placed him in a healing chamber. For 3 days slept. They watched over him with curiosity. Many of them had never seen a human up close. They whispered to each other about his strange pink skin, his small ears, his thick dark hair. Some thought he looked weak. Others thought he looked interesting. On the 4th day, opened his eyes. He was lying in a soft bed in a room filled with blue light. Everything looked strange, the walls, the ceiling, the machines around him. For a moment he thought he was dreaming. Then he tried to sit up and pain shot through his body. He was alive. That was real. A door opened and Commander walked in, stared at him with wide eyes. He had never seen a before, was tall, almost 7 feet, and his blue skin seemed to glow in the light, but his eyes were kind. "You are safe," said. His voice was deep and calm. "You were injured, we helped you." Did not know what to say. He had expected to die alone in space. Instead, aliens had saved his life. He felt tears forming in his eyes, but he held them back. "Thank you," he whispered. His voice was rough and weak. "Thank you." Nodded slowly. "You are far from your home, human, very far. What happened to you?" Told him everything. He told him about the exploration mission, about the attack, about watching his friends die. He told him about floating in the pod, waiting for the end. And he told him about the moment he saw the ship, how he had felt hope for the first time in days. Listened without speaking. When finished, the commander was quiet for a long moment. "You have courage," said finally. "Your kind is young. You have been in space for only a short time, but you came here anyway to the edge of the galaxy to explore and learn. That takes courage." Shook his head. "I was just doing my job." "No," said. "You were doing more than that. You were reaching for something greater than yourself. That is what makes a species worthy of the stars." Did not fully understand what meant, but he felt the weight of those words. He felt that something important had happened, not just to him but to everyone. I had saved a human. 2 species that had never spoken had finally met. In the days that followed, slowly recovered. He walked through the ship and met the crew. Most of them were cautious around him, but some were friendly. A young named Saul brought him food and taught him simple words in the language. Tried to teach Saul some Korean in return, which made them both laugh. But one thing stayed in his mind. During his recovery, he had overheard a conversation between 2 crew members. They were talking about humans, not him, but other humans. Humans who had been captured by raiders. Humans who were being held as slaves on distant planets. Felt his heart turn cold. He thought about his own rescue. He thought about how close he had come to death. And he thought about those other humans, still waiting, still suffering, still hoping that someone would come for them. He made a silent promise that night, lying in his bed on the alien ship. He did not know how and he did not know when, but he would find a way to help them, all of them. They had saved one human, and that one human would never forget it. 2 weeks passed on the ship, grew stronger each day. His wound healed and color returned to his face, but his mind was not at peace. Every night he dreamed about the humans he had heard about, the ones held in chains somewhere in the galaxy. Every morning he woke up with a fire burning in his chest. Commander noticed the change in him. The human no longer looked lost, he looked determined. There was something new in his eyes, something that recognized. It was the look of a man with a purpose. One evening called to his quarters. The room was simple but elegant, filled with books and star maps. Sat in a large chair and motioned for to sit across from him. "You are troubled," said. It was not a question. Hesitated, he did not want to seem ungrateful. These people had saved his life, but he could not lie. "I heard your crew talking," admitted, "about humans, about slaves." His expression did not change, but his eyes grew sad. "Yes, it is true. There are humans in this part of the galaxy who are not free. Raiders capture them, smugglers sell them. They work in mines, in factories, in places no being should work." Clenched his fists. "How many?" "We do not know exactly," said. "Perhaps a few hundred, perhaps more. They are scattered across many worlds." "And nobody helps them." His voice was rising. "Nobody comes for them." "Your people do not know," explained. "Earth is far from here. The humans who were taken came from small ships, explorers, traders, wanderers. When they disappeared, your world did not know what happened to them. They thought they were lost to space." Felt sick. He thought about families back on Earth, waiting for loved ones who would never come home. He thought about mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, all of them believing their people were dead. But they were not dead. They were alive and suffering. I have to help them, said. Looked at him for a long moment. You are one human far from home with no ship and no weapons. What can you do? I don't know yet, said, but I have to try. The next day took to a part of the ship he had never seen before. It was a small room near the cargo bay. Inside, sitting alone at a table, was a human woman. Stopped in the doorway. His heart nearly stopped. She was young, maybe a few years older than him, with long black hair and tired eyes. She looked up when they entered, and for a moment neither of them spoke. This is, said. She has been with us for 1 year. You're human, said, his voice barely above a whisper. Smiled sadly. I am. I was a translator on a merchant ship. We were attacked near the border. Everyone else was killed or taken. They found me drifting in the wreckage. Walked closer and sat down across from her. He had so many questions, but he did not know where to start. How many of us are out there? He asked. His eyes grew dark. More than you want to know. I've spent the past year listening to reports, helping to translate intercepted messages. There are humans on at least 12 different worlds. Some work in mines, some serve in houses. Some, she paused and looked away. Some are in worse places. Felt anger rising in his chest. Why doesn't anyone do anything? Who would? Asked. The species that hold our people are powerful. The raiders who capture us have strong ships and many weapons. They are not fighters, they are scholars, scientists, diplomats. And Earth doesn't even know we exist out here. Was quiet for a moment. He thought about everything had said. She was right. They were powerless, but he refused to accept that. Then we tell Earth, he said. Shook her head. How? We are thousands of light years from home. There is no way to send a message that far. There has to be a way, insisted. There is always a way. Over the next few weeks and spent every day together. They talked for hours, sharing stories about their homes, their families, their dreams. Had grown up in a small town near the sea. She missed the smell of salt in the air, the sound of waves at night. Told her about the mountains, about the snow in winter, about the cherry blossoms in spring. They became close. In that strange ship, surrounded by aliens, they found comfort in each other. They were the only humans for thousands of miles, and that bond was stronger than anything had ever felt. But they also worked. Every night they studied the ship's systems, looking for any way to send a message to Earth. Was a pilot, not an engineer, but he learned fast. New languages and codes, she could translate anything. Together, they made a good team. One night they found something. Deep in the ship's archives, there was information about an old communication relay. It was a station built long ago by an ancient species, designed to send signals across the galaxy. Most people thought it was broken, but the data suggested it might still work. If we could reach that relay, said, her eyes bright with hope, we could send a message to Earth, a real message. Studied the coordinates. The relay was far away in a dangerous part of space. Getting there would not be easy, but it was possible. We need to talk too, said. They found the commander on the bridge watching the stars. When they explained their idea, he listened carefully. When they finished, he was silent for a long time. You understand the risks, said finally. That region of space is controlled by raiders, the same raiders who attacked your ships. If we go there, we could be destroyed. I know, said, but if there's even a small chance we can save those people, we have to try. Looked at him, then at. He saw the determination in their eyes. He saw two humans far from home, willing to risk everything for their own kind. Your species is strange, said slowly. You live such short lives. You are so small and weak compared to many others in the galaxy, and yet you never stop fighting, you never stop hopping. Why? Thought about the question. He thought about all the humans out there, waiting in the darkness. Because they would do the same for us, he said. Any human would, that's who we are. We don't leave our people behind. Nodded slowly. For a moment, something like admiration crossed his face. Very well, he said. I will take you to the relay, but I cannot promise we will survive." "That's all we ask," said, "a chance." The ship changed course that night. The crew did not understand why their commander was taking them into danger for two humans, but they followed his orders. Something about the way spoke about and had changed their minds. These humans were not weak. They were brave. As the ship traveled toward the relay, stood at a window and watched the stars go by. Stood beside him. "Do you think Earth will come?" she asked quietly. Nodded. "I know they will. When they hear what happened to us, to all of us, they'll come. They'll send everyone they have." "How can you be so sure?" Smiled, though his eyes were serious. "Because that's what humans do. You save one of us and we remember. You hurt one of us and we never forget. When Earth learns the truth, they won't just send a ship. They'll send a fleet." Looked at him. For the first time in a long time, she felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope. They stood there together, two humans in the darkness, watching the stars pass. Somewhere ahead was the relay. Somewhere far away was Earth. And somewhere in between were hundreds of humans waiting to be found. The rescue had begun. The journey to the relay took 12 days. Each day felt longer than the last. The crew grew nervous as they moved deeper into dangerous space. Scanner alarms went off twice when raider ships appeared in the distance, but both times the enemy vessels moved away without attacking. Perhaps they did not notice the ship. Perhaps they had other targets in mind. Either way, counted it as luck. On the 13th day, they arrived. The relay station hung in space like a forgotten monument. It was massive, bigger than any structure had ever seen. Great metal arms stretched out in all directions, reaching toward distant stars. The surface was covered in strange symbols, written in a language no one could read anymore. Whoever built this place had been gone for thousands of years, but their work remained. "Is it still working?" asked as they looked at the station through the bridge window. Studied her instruments. "There is power inside. The main systems appear to be functional, but we cannot know for certain until someone goes aboard." Stepped forward. "I'll go." Commander looked at him. "It could be dangerous. The station is ancient. We do not know what we will find inside." "It doesn't matter," said. "This is why we came. I'm not turning back now." Touched his arm. "I'm coming with you." Wanted to argue. He wanted to tell her it was too risky, but he saw the look in her eyes and he understood. She needed to do this as much as he did. They were in this together. A small shuttle carried them from the ship to the relay station. The docking was rough. The station systems were old and the connection was unstable, but they made it inside. The interior of the station was dark and cold. Emergency lights glowed along the walls, casting everything in a dim red color. Dust floated in the air. Their footsteps echoed in the empty halls. "This place is a tomb," whispered. Nodded, "but something here is still alive. I can feel the vibration in the floor. Power is running somewhere." They followed the main corridor toward what they hoped was the control center. Along the way, they passed rooms filled with strange machines and ancient computers. Everything was covered in dust, untouched for ages. It felt like walking through history. After an hour of searching, they found it. The control room was a great circular chamber at the heart of the station. In the center stood a tall pillar of crystal, glowing with soft blue light. Screens surrounded it, showing star maps and data streams that moved too fast to read. "This is it," said, her voice filled with wonder. "This is where we send the signal." Approached the pillar carefully. He had no idea how the technology worked. It was far beyond anything humans had ever built, but he had to try. "Can you read any of this?" he asked. She studied the screens, her mind working fast. "Some of it. The symbols are similar to an old language I learned, one used by traders thousands of years ago, I think. I think this controls the direction of the signal. And this," she pointed to another screen, "this is the message input." They worked together for hours, translated what she could and operated the controls. It was slow and frustrating. Several times they made mistakes and had to start over, but they did not give up. Finally, as the third hour passed, they were ready. "I need to record the message," said. "What should I say?" Was quiet for a moment, then she spoke. "Tell them the truth, tell them where we are, tell them who is out here, and tell them to come." Took a deep breath. He activated the recording device and began to speak. "This is Pilot from Earth. I am sending this message from a relay station in the outer rim of the galaxy. I was part of an exploration mission. Our ship was attacked by raiders. I survived. I was rescued by an alien species who showed me kindness when they did not have to." He paused, collecting his thoughts. "But I am not the only human out here. There are hundreds of us, maybe more, held as slaves across this region of space. They were taken from their ships, stolen from their families. They are working in mines and factories. They are suffering, and they are waiting for someone to save them." His voice grew stronger. "I am sending you the coordinates of the planets where our people are held. I am sending you names of humans who are still alive, still fighting, still hopping. Earth needs to know the truth. We are not lost. We are not forgotten. We are still here." He looked she nodded, tears in her eyes. "Please," said, his voice breaking slightly. "Come for us, come for all of us. We have been waiting a long time, and we cannot wait much longer." He ended the recording. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "That was good," said softly. "That was perfect." Uploaded the message into the relay system. He added all the data they had gathered, coordinates, names, everything. Then he reached for the button that would send the signal. "Ready?" he asked. Nodded, "Ready." He pressed the button. The crystal pillar flared with brilliant light. Energy surged through the station, making the walls shake. The screens flickered and danced. For a moment, thought the whole place might collapse. Then it was over. The light faded, the shaking stopped. Everything went quiet. "Did it work?" asked. Looked at the main screen. A single line of text appeared, written in the ancient language. Leaned forward and read it slowly. "Message sent. Destination confirmed. Distance 12,000 light-years. Estimated arrival 47 days." Let out a breath he did not know he was holding. It worked. It actually worked. They returned to the ship as fast as they could. The station had served its purpose, and now they needed to leave before raiders found them. As the shuttle flew back to the main vessel, looked at the relay one last time. That ancient structure, built by a species long dead, had just become the most important thing in human history. On the bridge, Commander was waiting for them. "The signal was sent," reported. "Earth will receive it in 47 days." Looked at him with an expression had never seen before. It was something like respect, or perhaps amazement. "You have done something remarkable," said. "You have reached across the stars to call your people home. I have lived for 300 years, and I have never seen anything like this." "We couldn't have done it without you," said. "You saved my life, you brought us here, you risked your ship and your crew. Why?" Was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful. "Because I saw something in you, something I had not seen in a long time. Your species is young and you have made many mistakes, but you have something special, a fire inside you that refuses to go out. When I found you in that pod, dying and alone, you were still fighting. And now, standing here, you are still fighting, not for yourself but for others. That is rare in this galaxy." Felt the weight of those words. He bowed his head slightly. "Thank you," he said, "for everything." The ship left the relay station behind and began the long journey to a safer region of space, and spent the next weeks preparing. They gathered more information about the enslaved humans. They made plans. They waited. And far away, moving faster than light itself, a signal traveled across the galaxy. It carried a message of pain and hope, of suffering and determination. It carried the names of the lost and the coordinates of the forgotten. Earth had no idea what was coming, But in 47 days, everything would change. Stood at the window one night watching the stars, joined him as she often did. "Do you think they'll believe us?" she asked. "They will," said, "and when they do, they will come. Not just one ship, not just a few soldiers, all of them, every ship we have, every person who can fight." "How do you know?" Smiled. "Because that's who we are. You save one human and you earn a friend for life. But if you hurt our people, if you take them, enslave them, make them suffer, then you make an enemy of us all. And there is nothing in this galaxy more dangerous than a united humanity." Looked at him. In the darkness of space, surrounded by stars, she believed him. The signal was sent. The message was clear, and Earth was about to wake up. The message arrived on Earth on a cold winter morning. It came through the Deep Space Communication Center in Seoul, where operators monitored signals from across the cosmos. At first, they thought it was noise, random static from the stars. But when they cleaned up the transmission, they heard a human voice. "This is Pilot from Earth." The operator who first heard the message dropped his coffee. Within minutes, the recording was sent to the highest levels of government. Within hours, every leader on Earth was listening to the same words. His voice filled war rooms and presidential offices. His message played in the halls of power across the world. And when people heard what had happened, when they learned that hundreds of humans were being held as slaves among the stars, the response was immediate. There was no debate. There was no hesitation. For the first time in history, every nation on Earth agreed on one thing: they were going to bring their people home. Admiral Han stood in the command center of Earth's orbital station, watching ships gather from every corner of the planet. He was an older man with gray hair and steady eyes. He had spent 40 years in military service, and he had seen many things, but he had never seen anything like this. Ships came from everywhere. Military vessels from Korea, America, China, Russia, Europe, Africa, and beyond. Cargo ships loaded with supplies. Medical ships staffed with doctors and nurses. Even civilian volunteers, ordinary people who had modified their own vessels to join the fleet. "How many ships do we have?" Han asked his second-in-command, a young woman named. She checked her data pad. 207 warships, sir, 53 support vessels, and the number is still growing. We're receiving requests from private citizens who want to help. Han nodded slowly. "Tell them they're welcome. We need everyone we can get." The fleet took shape over the next 3 weeks. Engineers worked day and night to prepare the ships for the long journey. Soldiers trained for combat against enemies they had never faced. Scientists studied the data from his message, learning everything they could about the region of space they were entering. On the day of departure, billions of people watched. Screens across the world showed the fleet gathering in formation above the Earth. It was the largest armada humanity had ever assembled, a symbol of what humans could do when they stood together. Admiral Han stood on the bridge of his flagship, a massive vessel named Unity. He looked at the stars ahead and thought about the people waiting out there. Men and women who had been taken from their homes, children who had grown up in chains. They did not know help was coming, but soon they would. "All ships report ready," announced. Han took a deep breath, opened a channel to the fleet. A moment later, his voice echoed across 200 ships. "This is Admiral Han. Today we begin a journey that no human has ever taken. We are traveling to a part of the galaxy we have never seen, to face enemies we have never met. Some of us may not come home, but that is a price we are willing to pay. Because out there in the darkness our people are waiting. They have been waiting for a long time, and we will not let them wait any longer." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Every person on every ship, you are not just soldiers or pilots or engineers. You are the hope of humanity. You are the answer to every prayer whispered by our brothers and sisters in chains. They do not know we are coming, but when they see our ships appear in the sky, they will know one thing: they are not forgotten. They were never forgotten. His voice grew stronger. Today, we show the galaxy what it means to be human. We do not abandon our own. We do not leave anyone behind. No matter how far they are, no matter how long it takes, we will find them, and we will bring them home, all of them. The fleet erupted in cheers. On every ship, soldiers and crew members felt something they had not felt in a long time: pride. Pride in their species, pride in their mission, pride in what they were about to do. "Engage jump drives," Han commanded. The ships glowed with energy. Space bent around them, and then in a flash of light the fleet vanished, racing across the galaxy toward the unknown. 3 months later they arrived. The ship's sensors detected them first, was on duty when the alarms went off. She stared at her screen, unable to believe what she was seeing. "Commander," she shouted, "Commander, you need to see this." Hurried to the bridge, and followed close behind, awakened by the commotion. When they reached the main viewport, they all stopped and stared. Ships, hundreds of ships. They emerged from hyperspace in formation, filling the darkness with light and metal. Their hulls gleamed with the flags of every nation on Earth. At the front of the fleet flew the Unity, Admiral Han's flagship, its weapons armed and ready. Felt his knees go weak. He grabbed Han to steady himself. Tears streamed down her face. "They came," she whispered. "They actually came." "All of them," said, his voice shaking. "They sent everyone." On the bridge of the Unity, Admiral Han studied the ship on his scanner. It was smaller than his flagship, clearly not a warship. According to his message, these were the aliens who had rescued him. "Open a channel to that vessel," Han ordered. A moment later, Commander's face appeared on the main screen. The leader looked calm, but Han could see surprise in his dark eyes. "This is Admiral Han of the Earth Fleet," Han said. "We received a message from a pilot named. We have come to retrieve our people." Nodded slowly. "I am Commander. Your pilot is aboard my ship. He has been waiting for you. Request permission to send a shuttle." Permission granted. 15 minutes later, Admiral Han stepped aboard the ship. He was accompanied by 2 guards, but they were more for show than necessity. This was not a hostile meeting. And were waiting in the docking bay. When Han saw them, he stopped. For a moment, the Admiral, this powerful man who commanded hundreds of ships, just stared at the 2 young people standing before him. Then he walked forward and pulled into a tight embrace. "Thank you," Han said quietly, "for the message, for never giving up." Could not speak. He just held on to the Admiral and felt something he had almost forgotten: connection to home. Han stepped back and looked at, "You too, both of you are heroes." Wiped her eyes. "We're not heroes, we just wanted to help our people." "That's what makes you heroes," Han said. He turned to Commander, who had been watching the reunion in silence. The Admiral studied the alien for a long moment. "You saved his life," Han said. "You had no reason to. We are strangers to your people, and yet you chose to help him anyway." Inclined his head. "He was dying. I could not let that happen." "Why?" Thought about the question. "Because I saw something in him, something worth saving, and now seeing your fleet I understand. Humanity is more than I realized. You do not just fight for yourselves, you fight for each other." Han nodded. "That's who we are, and we never forget those who help us." He extended his hand. "Thank you, Commander. On behalf of every human being in this galaxy, thank you." Looked at the hand, unfamiliar with the gesture. Then slowly he reached out and took it. They stood there, 2 leaders from 2 species, connected by something greater than themselves. "Your people are scattered across many worlds," said. "The species who hold them are powerful. They will not let them go easily." Han smiled grimly. "Then they're about to learn something important about humans." "What is that?" "When you take one of us, you answer to all of us." He turned to his guards. "Relay my orders to the fleet. We begin the liberation immediately. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon, we hold nothing back. We're bringing them home." The guard saluted. "Yes, Admiral." As Han walked back to the shuttle, called out to him, "Admiral, there's something you should know." Han turned. "They saved me when they didn't have to," said. "They risked everything to help us. Whatever happens next, don't forget that." Han looked at him, then at. "I won't," he said, "and neither will Earth." The shuttle departed. The fleet began to move, and across the region of space controlled by slavers and raiders, a terrible warning spread. The humans had come. And they were not leaving without their people. The first planet fell in 3 days. It was a mining world called, where 200 humans worked underground in terrible conditions. The slavers who ran the operation had expected trouble eventually, but not like this. They had heard rumors of a human fleet, but they did not believe it. Humans were weak, they said. Humans were easy prey. They were wrong. Admiral Han sent 30 ships to. They dropped from the sky like thunder, blocking out the sun. The slavers tried to fight, but their weapons were nothing compared to the firepower of the Earth fleet. Within hours, their defenses were destroyed. Their leaders surrendered or fled. Then the soldiers came down. Korean Marines led the ground assault, supported by American and European units. They moved through the mining complex with speed and precision, clearing every tunnel, every chamber, every cell. And everywhere they went, they found humans. Men and women looked up from their chains with disbelief in their eyes. Some cried. Some fell to their knees. Some just stared, unable to understand what they were seeing. Soldiers in familiar uniforms, ships from home, voices speaking their languages. "We're here to take you home," the Marines said again and again. "You're safe now, you're going home." One young man named had been in the mines for 4 years. He was only 22, but he looked much older. His hands were rough from work. His eyes were tired from suffering. When a soldier cut his chains and helped him stand, could not stop shaking. "Is this real?" he asked. The soldier, a woman named, smiled at him. "It's real. Earth sent us, all of us, for you." Looked around at the soldiers, the ships, the flags. He saw the faces of people from every country working together, and for the first time in 4 years he cried. The same scene repeated across the region. The Earth fleet moved from planet to planet, system to system, freeing every human they found. Some operations were quick and easy. Others were brutal fights that lasted days. But the result was always the same. The humans were freed. And traveled with the fleet, helping to identify locations and translate communications. They watched as hundreds of their brothers and sisters were rescued from slavery. Each face they saw filled them with emotion, joy for the freed, anger at what had been done to them, and determination to find everyone still waiting. After 6 weeks, the operation was nearly complete. 347 humans had been freed from 11 different worlds. Most were recovering on hospital ships, receiving medical care and counseling. Many would need years to heal from what they had experienced, but they were alive, and they were going home. On the final day, the fleet gathered above a small moon where the last group of human captives was being held. This was the most difficult rescue yet. The slavers here were well-armed and desperate. They knew what was coming, and they had prepared. Admiral Han stood on the bridge of the Unity, studying the tactical display. The enemy had fortified their position. They had hostages. Any wrong move could get people killed. "What do you recommend?" asked. Han was quiet for a moment. Then he turned to who was standing nearby. "You know these people," Han said. "You've been fighting for them longer than anyone. What would you do?" Thought about the question. He thought about all the humans down there, so close to freedom yet still in danger. He thought about Commander, who had risked everything to save one stranger. He thought about the choice that had started all of this. "We don't go in with guns first," said slowly. "We offer them a choice. Surrender and we let them go. Fight and we destroy them. Make it simple, make it clear." Han nodded. "And if they refuse?" His eyes hardened. Then we do what we have to do. The Admiral turned to his communications officer. Open a channel to the surface. All frequencies. A moment later, Han's voice echoed across the moon. This is Admiral Han of the Earth Fleet. You are holding citizens of Earth against their will. You have 1 hour to release them and leave this place. If you comply, we will allow you to go in peace. If you do not, he paused, then you will understand why no one should take our people. 45 minutes of silence followed. The fleet held position, weapons ready. Everyone waited. Then with 20 minutes left, the slavers emerged from their bunkers. They were unarmed. Behind them came the human captives, 31 men, women, and children, blinking in the light of ships they had never expected to see. There was no fight, no final battle, just surrender. As the last captives were brought aboard the rescue ships, watched from a viewport, a little girl, maybe 7 years old, was being carried by a Marine. She had her arms wrapped around his neck, her face buried in his shoulder. She was crying softly. Felt tears on his own face. He did not wipe them away. Stood beside him, she took his hand. "We did it," she said. "We actually did it." "We all did it," replied. Everyone, Han, the entire fleet. Everyone who believed, everyone who fought, everyone who refused to give up. That night there was a gathering aboard the Unity. Admiral Han hosted it, a simple event to honor those who had made the mission possible. Representatives from every nation were there, along with crew members, soldiers, and the freed humans who were well enough to attend. Commander was there too. He stood apart from the crowd, watching with curious eyes. Humans celebrated in ways he did not fully understand, laughing, embracing, raising glasses. But he understood the emotion behind it. Joy, relief, pride. Admiral Han approached him. "Commander," Han said, "I want you to know something. Earth will not forget what you did. You saved one man, a pilot no one else would have stopped for, and because of that we were able to save all of them." Shook his head slowly. "I did very little. It was your pilot who sent the message. It was your people who came. I merely helped along the way." "That's not how we see it." Han gestured to the crowd around them. "Look at them. 347 people, alive and free, because you made a choice to show mercy to a stranger. In our culture, that kind of act creates a bond, a debt of honor." "A debt?" Han smiled. "Not the kind you repay with money or goods, the kind you repay with loyalty, friendship, protection. The showed kindness to humanity when we were weak and far from home. We will never forget that. And if your people ever need help, if you ever face an enemy you cannot defeat alone, call us. We will come, all of us." Looked at the Admiral for a long moment. In 300 years of life, he had seen many promises made and broken. But there was something in Han's eyes that made him believe. This human meant every word. "Thank you," said. "Thank you," Han replied, "for everything." Later, as the celebration continued, found standing alone by a viewport. "You're leaving soon, aren't you?" asked. Nodded. "My ship must return to our mission continues." Stood beside him, looking at the stars. "I never got to ask you something," said. "Back when you first found me, when your officer asked if you should keep flying and leave me behind, what made you stop?" Was quiet for a moment. "I do not know," he admitted. "Perhaps it was curiosity, perhaps it was something else. But when I looked at that tiny pod drifting alone in all that darkness, I felt something. You were so far from home, so small against the vastness of space, and yet you were still alive, still fighting." He turned to look at. "I have met many species in my long life. Most of them see the universe as something to fear, a cold and dangerous place where the weak are destroyed. But your kind is different. You see the universe as something to explore, to understand, to claim as your own. You are not afraid of the darkness. You reach into it with both hands." Smiled. "We're stubborn. It's kind of our thing." His expression softened, something close to a smile, though his face was not built for it. "Yes," he said, "you are stubborn and brave and loyal. The galaxy has not seen anything like humanity before. I think that will change things. For better or worse. Time will tell, but I believe it will be for the better." They stood together in silence, watching the stars. A few hours later, the ship departed, and watched it go from the Unity's observation deck. The elegant silver vessel grew smaller and smaller until it vanished into the darkness, returning to its own corner of the cosmos. "Do you think we'll see them again?" asked. "Yes," said, "I know we will. This was the beginning of something not just for us but for everyone. Humans and Earth and the galaxy. Everything changes from here." The fleet began its journey home the next morning. It would take months to return to Earth, but no one minded. They had done what they came to do. They had brought their people back. And across the galaxy, in places humans had never been and might never go, a story spread. It was told by traders and travelers, by soldiers and slavers, by species who had never seen Earth and might never see it again. The story was simple. A ship found a dying human in space. They could have ignored him. They could have left him to die. Instead, they saved him. And because they saved him, humanity came, not with anger or revenge, but with purpose. They came for their people. They came for every single one. The lesson was clear. If you hurt a human, their whole species would answer. If you helped a human, they would remember forever. And if you took their people, if you enslaved them, imprisoned them, made them suffer, then one day you would look up at the sky and see a fleet, hundreds of ships, thousands of soldiers, all of them coming for you. They rescued one human, so humanity came back for all of them. And the galaxy would never be the same.